Welcome to Blunt Talk at 420 Friendly. My name is Carol. I am the owner of 420 Friendly, and today we are going to talk about a topic that comes up a lot and has been for the last 10 years. But first, let me give you a little bit of history about recreational cannabis in Washington State. In 2012, Washington State and Colorado legalized recreational cannabis. The first stores in Washington State opened in 2014. And we, at that time, still had a medical market and we had a recreational market. Over the last 10 years, we have seen a number of changes in rules, regulations, but nothing more so than pesticides and their use in the cannabis market. And there's a very good reason for that. In 2016, so we're going back a little ways here. In 2016, a series of articles came out targeting pesticides. It was basically like a sting operation. And so what these reporters had done is they went to various recreational stores, they picked out a handful of products and they had them independently tested. And what they found was that they were excessively high in pesticides. Why? Why did that happen? Now I have a lot. When we first opened, there weren't a whole lot of very stringent testing requirements. Sure, THC, CBD all had to be tested, but there was no requirement to test for pesticides. Unfortunately, there were a number of farms that were severely devastated by this article. I do have my own opinions on whether or not that should have been done the way it was done, but be that as it may, what it did was raise the concern about pesticide use in with products. Now, the Washington State Department of Agriculture regulates what pesticides, or any product for that matter, whether it be a soil amendment, a fertilizer, the Clonex used to make the babies at planting time, all of that is regulated by the Washington State Department of Agriculture here in Washington State. And I will have some links at the bottom here so that you have the ability to do your own research when you are purchasing product, particularly here in Washington. The website I'm going to put in there does cover Washington and Oregon, so if you're in either one of those states, you'll be able to look up those products. But you know, nationwide, these are all nationwide products. Which brings us to the topic of phytoremediation. So most of you may be familiar with something called bioremediation, and that is when microorganisms are used to decontaminate something, oil spills, for instance, in the ocean. Phytoremediation is the same thing, but it's the introduction of plants to do that. It is used to clean the air, it is used to clean water, it is used to clean soil. Now, this is something that Mother Nature has been doing for, ever, right? So now, all of us at some point or another, probably in grade school, we learned how trees breathe in the bad air and exhale the good air, right? So that is a type of natural phytoremediation. Many of us have house plants for the same purpose. It cleans the air in our house. Phytoremediation is the process of using plants to clean the air, to clean the water, to clean the soil. Phytoremediation is something that is done consistently in farming, and this really came to a head in the 1930s during the Dust Bowl, where the southern plains of the United States were stricken with drought, and a number of factors contributed to that, but a large contributing factor was the failure of the farmers in that region to rotate their crops. So the soil was being depleted of essential nutrients to help bind that soil together. In 1986, Chernobyl, a nuclear plant in the Soviet Union, exploded, and that entire region was contaminated with nuclear fallout. Over the course of the last 40 years, they have been using sunflowers, clover, and hemp. in order to clean up the contaminated soil in that area. So why industrial hemp, or hemp in general? Now keep in mind that hemp and cannabis are related. The only real difference between the two would be the concentration of THC. But it turns out that industrial hemp has the amazing ability to absorb contaminants. And how that goes back to those articles that were published in 2016 is not only have they a great ability to clean the soil and to clean the air, they store those contaminants in their plant, in their leaves, in their stalks, and yes, even in their flowers. Once that happens, it's not released. It's stored in there, it builds up over time, making it unsafe for consumption later. So it is safe to assume that industrial hemp and cannabis are both absorbing contaminants in their environment. So why is this important in the recreational market and the study, or in the articles that were published in 2016? This is important because, particularly in Washington State, but also Colorado did this, we merged our medical markets and our recreational markets into one market. And that means that a number of growers moved their medical cannabis into the recreational market. And the facts are the facts. The regulations in the medical market weren't as stringent as they were and currently are in the recreational market. So over the years, what was discovered for at least several of those grows that we had talked extensively to at the time, what it was discovered was those plants that had been moved over from the medical market into the recreational market were years, even decades old. And they had been absorbing fertilizer and contaminants in water and anything else for decades. And they were being stored in the stems and the leaves of those plants. So each time a clone was taken and replanted, it just continued to pull those contaminants through into the new plant. Washington State did not require pesticide testing for recreational cannabis until 2022. Before that, it was only for medical grade cannabis. It was marked specifically Department of Health, which also required heavy metal testing, and on a volunteer basis. Then in 2023, a series of outdoor grows in Okanogan County were shut down. What was discovered was they had been planted on old orchards, and those orchards had been sprayed and contaminated with DDT, and it was still in the soil. So this has been a long ongoing process. We started this in 2014, here it is in 2024, almost 2025, and we're still dealing with pesticides and learning how that all works, which is why it is so important that the recreational market, I think, has become standard across so many states, including Washington, because who knows how long contaminated cannabis had been sold or is currently still being sold in the medical markets of other states. We've learned a lot over the years. Well, I hope you enjoyed this talk. Phytoremediation, we just kind of touched on it a little bit, but I do find it a very fascinating topic. If you're interested in us doing a really deep dive on phytoremediation and how that works, just leave us a comment below. Like, subscribe, and join us next time for Blunt Talk. Thank you for joining us. I don't really like that, but I mean, it's true.
It's no, I mean that's exactly. I mean that is one of the big fears from the growing side that we dealt with. Mm-hmm. Just even in our state, like just the lack of regulation, and I remember Bodie was really cool as a vendor because they did volunteer testing, like Analytical 360 before any of this went to 502.
When I did kind of look it up, there's an article on Reddit Bedco, Triple B, Smoky Point, Dama. I mean, there were so many that were hit.
Mhm.
Then they all came over from the medical market.
Actually, yeah, I didn't know about the DGT, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.